Hello viewers, I'm your host Yeshi with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India has been recording a consistent dip in the number of COVID infections. For nearly 100,000 cases per day in mid-September, everyday count has come down below its half in past 1 month. While the recovery rate of India is one among the highest in the world, the country boasts of containing mortality rate at one among the lowest. However, the government and doctors who are hoping to receive the vaccine by February say that people need to be overcautious as the numbers might resurge during festive season.
With a rapid recovery record, India, the second most populated country with second highest COVID caseload, has made significant gain in its fight against the pandemic. While the country's COVID caseload has surpassed 8 million mark, the number of positive cases has declined sharply. The country has a little over 500,000 positive cases, which is only 6% of the total caseload of the country. While India's mortality rate is one among the lowest in the world, its recovery rate has gone past record 92%. However, the doctors, confirming to the statement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, said that people were required to be more cautious today as the numbers could resurge owing to festive season.
कोरोना के मामले में इंडिया दो मामले में लकी रहा है। एक तो मोर्टेलिटी बाकी कंट्रीज से कम हुई है और दूसरा पीक आने के बाद जल्दी ही नीचे आना भी शुरू हो गया है। तो अब केसेस कम हो रहे हैं, लेकिन चिंता का विषय ये है कि केसेस ज़ीरो नहीं है। तो अभी भी केसेस लगातार निकले जा रहे हैं, चाहे वो संख्या में कमी जरूर आई है। तो अगर हम एहतियात नहीं बरतेंगे तो सेकंड पीक जल्दी आने शुरू हो जाएगी।
India is being hailed across the world for its efforts at containing the disease. The country has also been doing over 1 million tests per day. It is also the front and center of the race to acquire a vaccine against the disease. The Serum Institute is all ready to roll out hundreds of millions of doses once the candidate is ready. Meanwhile, Bangladesh, which suffered disappointment from China, has signed a tripartite agreement with Serum Institute of India and Vaccinco Pharmaceuticals, a local company in Bangladesh, for coronavirus vaccine developed by Oxford.
This is a very good day for India-Bangladesh ties. It's a very good day for the agenda that our Prime Minister put forward in March this year, when he told other SAARC leaders that this is a battle we must fight together, and it is a battle we must win together.
In a massive development, the Serum Institute has also said the country could come up with its own vaccine candidate by January next year. Serum Institute of India, a Pune-based drug maker, joined hands with British-Swedish pharma major AstraZeneca to produce the coronavirus vaccine for low and middle-income countries. Dubbed as Covishield, the vaccine is currently in phase 2 and 3 clinical trial in the country.
Minorities are under assault in Pakistan. Their freedom has been curtailed and rights taken away. In spite of the United Nations and the United States of America calling out the deteriorating religious freedom in the country, the numbers of crimes against minorities is sharply rising. A widespread wave of forced conversions and marriages has further worsened their lives. Recently, a minor Christian girl was picked and converted to Islam. She was also subjected to forced marriage. If you are wondering what happened next, well, absolutely nothing. The perpetrators have gone scot-free even in the High Court. Have a look at the entire story.
A mother is pleading before authorities to let her meet her daughter. All pleas falling on deaf ears. A minor, Arzu Raza, was made to sit and grill for hours inside a courtroom before she was finally allowed to meet her mother. But it was too late, as those who are culpable and those who are complicit have ensured by now that the girl doesn't speak against them. a modus operandi of intimidation is used by authorities in Pakistan to keep such victims silent in public and even before their families. 13-year-old Arzu Raza was abducted from her house in broad daylight on 13th October. A Christian minor, Arzu was converted to Islam and married off to a quadragenarian. The abductor, Azhar Ali, presented forged documents before the court claiming Arzu was an adult when he married her, and now the court has given her custody to abductor without any probe or proceeding.
13 अक्टूबर को घर के बाहर से अगवा हुई आरजू राजा उम्र 13 साल। 2 दिन बाद पुलिस ने घर वालों को बताया कि उसने शादी कर ली है और मुसलमान हो गई है। इसकी शादी 44 साल अली अकबर से जबरदस्ती की गई। 27 अक्टूबर को आरजू को अदालत में पेश किया गया। अदालत ने कहा कि ये इतनी बड़ी हो गई है कि ये अपनी मर्जी से शादी कर सकती है और उसने इस्लाम कबूल कर लिया है। अब उसका नाम आरजू फातिमा रखा गया है। अगली पेशी 11 नवंबर को है। वालिदैन को धमकियां मिल रही हैं और उनकी नौकरियां भी जा चुकी है। ये वाकया अगवा और जनाकारी का वाकया है जो कि बहुत ही अफसोसनाक है कि आज पाकिस्तान में मिनॉरिटीज के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है, उनकी कोई हिफाजत नहीं है।
Massive protests have erupted in Sindh province demanding justice for Arzu. Protesters shouting anti-establishment slogans said that the authorities were working overtime to instill a sense of fear in Pakistani minorities. Whether it was a Hindu, Christian or Sikh, everybody has become a victim of state-backed persecution of minorities. They said that forced conversions and marriages were being carried out under an indirect patronage of authorities. Minorities, who were a considerable size in Pakistan's population in 1947, have reduced a limited few owing to constant state-backed atrocities. Even the legislators and judges, they say, were complicit in the crime.
हमारे क्रिश्चियन लोगों को, हिंदुओं को, सिख लोगों को, किसी मिनॉरिटी के बंदे को पाकिस्तान में कोई तहफ़्फ़ुज़ नहीं है। ये एक गंदी और गलीज़ जिसको कहते हैं, इस पाकिस्तान को कैंसर से भी ज्यादा खतरनाक बीमारी लग चुकी है कि इनको किसी का कोई एहसास नहीं है। किसी की एक मासूम बेटी को उठा के उसके साथ पहले शादी करते हैं, फिर उसको जबरदस्ती उसका मजहब चेंज करते हैं, उसके बाद फिर कोर्ट में भी लेके जाते हैं और वहां जाके भी जो वहां पे बैठा हुआ एक अनपढ़ जहल जज बैठा हुआ है कि जो कह रहा है कि बच्ची इस काबिल है कि शादी कर सकती है। लानत हो तेरे ऊपर खुदा की लानत पड़ेगी कि तूने उस बच्ची को, मासूम बच्ची को, तूने इंसाफ नहीं दिया।
Pakistan has been called out for its apathy towards minorities at various global platforms, but the authorities haven't cared to address the issue. The United States has called it a country of particular concern for having engaged in systematic, ongoing, egregious violations of religious freedom. UN says that minorities are under threat in Pakistan. The successive governments in Pakistan have made tall claims of working in the welfare of minorities. But the vandalism of minority prayer sites, blatant misuse of blasphemy laws against them, and legislations being framed every day to further marginalize them reek of a completely opposite and inhumane situation for minorities. Minorities in Pakistan are crying for justice, which is nowhere to be found.
Protests against French President Emmanuel Macron continued this week as thousands of them, with a motive to shut their embassy, headed towards French embassy in capital Dhaka. Protesters demanded severing of all diplomatic ties with Paris. Muslims across the world had expressed their anger against Macron post his remark in the wake of terrorist attacks in France, describing Islam as a religion in crisis all over the world and strongly defending the freedom of speech that some have deemed inflammatory and blasphemous. Have a look.
Carrying anti-France placards and beating French President Emmanuel Macron's posters with slippers and shoes, Muslims in Bangladesh, a country hit severely at employment front during pandemic, have stepped up protests against France. Thousands marching towards French embassy chanted boycott French products and carried banners calling Macron the world's biggest terrorist. The protests have intensified despite Macron's justification that his statement was not against all Muslims but those who were a threat to the composite culture of France and were posing a threat to the freedom of expression in the country.
শুধুমাত্র আল্লাহ রসুলকে অপমাননা করছে এই জন্য আমি এখানে অনেক দূর থেকে এখানে আসছি প্রতিবাদ করার জন্য যারা আল্লাহ রসুলের গালি দেয় যারা আল্লাহ রসুলের দুশমন এদের প্রতিরোধ করা এদের যারা ব্যঙ্গ করে এদের প্রতিবাদ করা আমাদের প্রত্যেকটা ইমানি মুসলমানের দায়িত্ব
While the number and strength of protests have swelled in recent days, the extremists have unleashed themselves in different parts of Europe. Last week, a knife-wielding Tunisian man yelling Allahu Akbar or Allah is greatest beheaded a woman and killed 2 others in the French city of Nice. 2 weeks earlier, a French middle school teacher was beheaded by an 18-year-old who was apparently enraged that a cartoon of Prophet Muhammad had been shown in class.
এখানে সকলে একত্রিত হয়েছি আজকে হেফাজতে ইসলামের ব্যানারে আমরা ফ্রান্সের সরকার ফ্রান্সের প্রধানমন্ত্রী আমাদের রাসূল সাল্লামকে নিয়ে কটূক্তি করেছে সেই জন্য আমরা এটার প্রতিবাদে মিছিলে একত্রিত হয়েছি ফ্রান্সের দূতাবাস ঘেরাও করব সেখানে আমরা আমাদের দাবি যে এই ফ্রান্সের দূতাবাস থাকতে পারবে না এবং ফ্রান্সের যত পণ্য আছে এগুলো বয়কট করতে হবে
The government of Bangladesh, however, has not commented on the cartoon controversy so far. Experts say that it could be due to country's strong trade ties with France, which might take a hit if Hasina government intervenes. The ready-made garments market of Bangladesh, which accounts for the biggest share in the country's export, has its largest destination in France. France is Bangladesh's 4th largest export market, with country exporting worth $1.7 billion goods in 2019. Experts warn any deterioration in bilateral ties will be a massive loss for Dhaka.
Moving on, Pakistan's international drama and drubbing over Kashmir has turned out to be a hoax. It has announced the former merger of illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan to its mainland, a call that has prompted backlash from both activists and commoners. Kashmiris living in exile have termed it another black day in their history. India, which has legal rights of ownership of the region, owing to a complete and irrevocable annexation of Kashmir to India in 1947, has asked Pakistan to immediately roll back its decision. Observers say that it was mounting pressure from Beijing that made Pakistan take such a call, as China doesn't want to face any legal complications in its ambitious China-Pakistan economic corridor.
People across Gilgit-Baltistan are up in arms against Islamabad's decision of integrating the illegally occupied region with the rest of Pakistan. In the run-up to the assembly elections in the so-called autonomous region, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan recently announced that the region will become a provisional province of Pakistan, a declaration that has drawn massive condemnation from across the spectrum. Activists wonder as to how an occupying state, which has no locus standi over the region, can take a call of subsuming it with the rest of Pakistan.
Imran Khan's speech is a merely election stunt aimed at bagging pro-province votes in Gilgit-Baltistan. Gilgit-Baltistan is an integral part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and we shall never let Pakistan to either change its status or to divide it further. Pakistani continued occupation of Gilgit-Baltistan and POJK is clear violation of the United Nations resolutions, and we demand that Pakistan must immediately withdraw all forces and citizens from Gilgit-Baltistan and POJK.
New Delhi has strongly protested and has asked Pakistan to roll back all its decisions regarding imposing authority over illegally occupied regions. India says that it has the legal ownership over the territory owing to Kashmir's entire and irrevocable accession to India in 1947. India has also urged Pakistan to vacate places it has been illegally occupying for more than 7 decades. Observers have been taken by surprise as they say that Pakistan always knew about its immoral authority over the region. And it was due to this that Pakistan maintained even at international platforms that Gilgit-Baltistan was a disputed territory. So what exactly has changed now? China. Yes, it is China's growing sway in Pakistan's decision-making that has shaped Islamabad's call. China wants Gilgit-Baltistan to have a political status within the constitutional framework of Pakistan so that its ambitious China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that is CPEC, doesn't suffer any political roadblocks. Status elevation would also mean that Pak-China nexus can go to any levels of exploitation without undergoing right scrutiny. People say they will never accept being part of Pakistan as their true identity is Indian.
People of Gilgit-Baltistan are Indian citizens. Pakistan's only one job that the United Nations gave to Pakistan was to withdraw from Gilgit-Baltistan. But Pakistan and China have colluded to maximize exploitation and abuse of local resources. In order to give a constitutional cover to their illegal activities in Gilgit-Baltistan and the violation of the United Nations resolutions, Pakistan has decided to give Gilgit-Baltistan province status without giving full constitutional rights.
तुम कल भी काबिज थे, तुम आज भी काबिज हो और तुम कल भी काबिज ही रहोगे। इसलिए तुम्हें बड़े मुद्दबाना तरीके से हम ये कह रहे हैं कि हमारी धरती से अपने नापाक कदम हटा लो, दफा हो जाओ गिलगित बल्तिस्तान से, दफा हो जाओ पाकिस्तानी कब्जे वाले जम्मू कश्मीर से, इससे पहले कि तुम्हें ठुड्डे और लातें और धक्कों के साथ हमारी आवाम वहां से बेदखल करे। मैं समझता हूं कि आज का दिन जो है ये हमारे लिए एक ब्लैक डे है।
The region of Gilgit-Baltistan was a part of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir before 1947. While Pakistan invaded and occupied a significant portion of Kashmir through its proxy war carried out by Pashtun Lashkars, the region of Gilgit-Baltistan was usurped through a conspiracy carried out by Pakistani leaders and the then commandant of Gilgit Scouts, Major William Brown, who mutinied against the ruler of Jammu and Kashmir. Today, even the British acknowledge that Gilgit-Baltistan is an Indian territory. A few of them have presented a motion in the British Parliament urging it to take a position. The king of the state, Maharaja Hari Singh, had signed the instrument of accession on 26 October 1947, declaring his state's formal merger with India. But Pakistan never vacated the region it had occupied. Even today, the people of the region demand freedom from its clutches. A change in the Gilgit-Baltistan status has only emphasized the brutal fact that Pakistan doesn't care about people and their rights.
The rich and vibrant festivals in India are a testimony to our diverse tradition and culture. In this week's cultural lineup, we will show you one of the most auspicious Hindu festivals celebrated in the northern part of India, Karwa Chauth. Married Hindu women celebrate this festival with great religious fervor and adoration. Let's have a look at this colorful tradition, which is the symbol of nuptial bonding. Dressed in colorful traditional wear, these women are celebrating one of the most auspicious festivals in India, Karwa Chauth. Traditionally, Karwa Chauth is a day-long holy fast observed by married women for the wellness and longevity of their husbands. Not just this, young unmarried girls too fast in the hope of getting a loving and caring husband. Women on fast abstain from consuming even a morsel of food or a drop of water until they see the moon in the evening.
अपने पति की लंबी उम्र की कामना के लिए रखा जाता है, उनकी सक्सेस के लिए कि उनकी तरक्की हुई होती रहे, हमारा साथ यूं ही बना रहे और घर परिवार सब ऐसे ही खुश रहे। अच्छा लगता है, अच्छी फीलिंग आती है। मेरा तो ये पहला करवा चौथ है तो मुझे अच्छा लगा बहुत ज़्यादा।
On this day, women dressed up as brides and gathered to pray to Hindu goddess Parvati, listen to folk tales and decorate their karwas and puja thali, which symbolizes a happy married life. The preparation for this auspicious day starts early, and the woman keeping the fast takes a bath before the first light of the sun and eats the sargi given by mother-in-law. They prepare a variety of food items on this occasion. In the evening, women break their fast at the time of moonrise with a glass of water and some dry fruits.
ये करवा चौथ का व्रत हम लोग अपने पति की लंबी आयु और दीर्घायु के लिए रखते हैं। इसमें हम लोगों को जैसे हमारी सास के द्वारा दी जाती है सरगी, वो हम सुबह सरगी खाते हैं सुबह 4 बजे उठ करके, और उसके बाद फिर हम लोग ये बिना जल का निर्जला व्रत रहता है, कुछ भी नहीं खाते।
Every year, the festival is celebrated in a grand manner. However, due to the pandemic this time, many women opted to stay indoors and avoided going to markets due to fear of getting infected with coronavirus.
Excited है, because अभी इतना थोड़ा रौनक देख रहे हैं, क्योंकि अभी तक तो सब कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा डाउन और सैड चल रहा था, तो अब तो मतलब थोड़ा देख के अच्छा लग रहा है, खुद को अच्छा लग रहा है, बट सेफ्टी है रखी हुई है। देख रहे हैं कि सबने मास्क पहना हुआ है, तो इस वजह से हिम्मत भी कर रहे हैं कि आगे बैठ गए हैं।
Karwa Chauth is mainly observed in North India and neighboring Nepal. Our age-old unique traditions have gifted the country with such fairs and festivals and create a good bond in our society. So with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye, take care and stay safe.